Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have Moe DeWitt, a practicing PI attorney, and actually does some domestic law down in Orlando, one of the most, I think, toughest markets in America. I mean, in the top five anyway, as far as saturation competition. And he's also in our mastermind program at Pilma, and he's also going to be at our summit in May on one of the social media panels, because he is so good at social media and he really gets it. So welcome to the show, man.
Well, thank you, Ken. Thank you for having me. I always appreciate chatting with you, and I'm looking forward to the summit. It's always a great time and very informative down there in New Orleans.
Well, it's because we've got people like you, that's what makes it.
Well, and people a lot smarter than me too. So,
well, there always going to be somebody smarter. People that are smarter than me too.
Exactly.
So I want to talk about social media today, online stuff, because I mean, like I said, you're in a tough market. I think you've tried TV before and it just didn't work down there. You got to have like a multi-million dollar budget.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before. In our market, especially when you have the 100,000-pound gorillas and everybody else in the market, you have to look how you can differentiate yourself. And if you try to compete with them directly, whether that's going to television or other mass media, you're just going to go bankrupt. Frankly, you don't have the same buying power that they do to really compete. So you have to look at how you can compete and kind of niche out your own way. And that's where we've kind of gone to social media a bit and tried to make some strides in the market there.
So, when we say social media, you got TikTok, Instagram, I guess, Facebook, anything else that you consider social media?
YouTube Shorts. There's Twitter or X now. I don't do a whole lot on there. But I think you can look at them together as a whole. And obviously, they're slightly different audiences, but now they're kind of all, TikTok was a much younger audience. The age has now come up on that. So where even though Facebook is kind of considered an older market, I think you still have a pretty equal market across the board. Now, of course, your message is going to change slightly depending what platform you're on. If you're on LinkedIn, which can be a very good way to get leads from other professionals, your message is going to be very different than if you're on Facebook and TikTok, obviously. But no matter where you are, the way I look at it is you really have to differentiate yourself from other lawyers and try to be original. If they're going left, you have to kind of go right and figure out, okay, how do I stand out? Because, from the consumer's perspective, they're whatever the platform may be, they're scrolling through this platform and you have, a fraction of a second, a couple seconds, whatever it may be, to capture their attention. So there has to be something that kind of disrupts them, some sort of disruptor in your whether it's a still image, a video, whatever it may be, to get their attention and suck them in, something that they're interested in, essentially. And when I look at what a lot of other lawyers are doing out there right now, at least, is lawyers seem to copy all the other lawyers. So all the lawyer ads kind of always look the same. This is nothing new. It's been going on for years. But one lawyer will do one type of video and then everybody will copy it. Well, the second you do that and everybody jumps on the bandwagon, you're just going to get scrolled right over because you look like everybody else. So, number one, I think you have to figure out how do you differentiate yourself. And it can be something simple as a different background, a different intro, a different message, what you wear, where you're located. What are you on the beach instead of an office? Are you, behind a green screen, whatever it may be. Just something to kind of stand out from the competition, so to speak. But then also you have to kind of consider, what does the audience actually want to see? Do they really care that you just got this other client a bunch of money? Well, maybe they do, but they've also seen that 1,000 times. So what actually benefits them? So, is it going to be educational? Is it going to be informative? Or is it going to be entertainment? Is it going to try to have some comedy in there to entertain them? You have to look at it from the consumer's perspective as far as what they actually want to see. Nobody cares about us. Lawyers, we want to think, we're so important and big. Nobody gives a damn what we're doing, frankly, unless we're benefiting that person somehow. So you have to kind of look at whatever you're putting out there. How do you benefit that person? What, again, whether it's education or information or entertainment or providing some sort of value to them, whatever it may be, you have to give them something that's going to interest them.
I agree. I mean, that is the bottom line. People, I always say it's what's in it for me. They really don't care about you. And I think, I've heard before that you should never use the word, me, our, we, us. It should always be about them, you, yours. So I got a question. Just I'm going to hit you on this. Is kind of ad lib.
Yeah.
I would think that videos would do a hell of a lot better than just still pictures, but I could be wrong. That's why I want to ask you.
Well, I've actually seen still picture ads do very, very well on Facebook. I think sometimes, or at least now, I think people don't always want to watch the whole video. So if you have an engaging picture of some kind, it can do very, very well. Oftentimes better than a video, again, just because people don't want to sit there for even the 30 seconds or 60 seconds to watch the video. So it depends what your purpose is. I think overall, in an overall strategy, you should be using both. I don't think you just want to use 100% video. I don't think you just want to use 100% still pictures. Because again, part of what you always say, you want to get people to know, like, and trust you. And so that's what we're trying to do on social media is get them to know, like, and trust us through our message, making that message engaging and kind of sucking them into our funnel, whether you think of it as a funnel or not. One engagement on social media does you no good. People talk about impressions or views. Well, that doesn't really matter unless you're getting impressions and views with those same people over and over and over again to where they know, like, and trust you. So
So
that's
you
what
want
you have to
followers.
focus
You want followers is really
on.
what you want.
Exactly. Yeah, you want followers because you're building a brand. And so the only way you can build your brand is to get people to follow that brand. Social media is not lead. Well, it can be lead generation for what we do. Single event torts. It's really not lead generation. Maybe if you're doing mass torts or something like that, it could be lead generation. But for what we're doing, it's really brand building. And so that's the way I look at it. It's no different than what you would do on television, right? Somebody seeing your television commercial one time. Well, if it's your mom or your friend, you might feel proud that they saw you on TV. Otherwise, nobody cares. That person's not going to remember
Yeah.
you. So it's the same idea on social media, which brings me to another point. If you are doing mass media, I think social media is a great place to test the copy that you're using before you spend a bunch of money actually producing that copy. Whether it's television or if you have billboards up around town, do a mock-up billboard on social media, put it as a picture of, like, your billboard in the city, and just see which one gets the most engagement. I think it's a great way to test different copy at a very inexpensive rate where you're not spending a bunch of money out there, on production or anything like that. And you can get it out there to people and see what works.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I heard you say something like that. It's really important. Like, what's your purpose? I mean, and that's every time we have a marketing meeting and we're talking about doing some ads or doing some videos or doing whatever, I say, well, what's our purpose? Is it to sell something or is it just to top of mind awareness, just to keep being in front of people so that they see us, like you say, they get comfortable with us, they know us, they like us, so that, and I'm thinking about it from my point, to when their business starts going sour, that's when they're going to call Pilma. And
Right.
people are not going to call you until they get in a wreck. The deal is, and you don't know when that's going to be. And so if you can just be, like you say, in there to where they're following you, they like you, and I know you do some entertaining ones, but I also see you do some ones that are very educational based. And so I think it's got to be a little bit of both. And
Yeah, I would agree. I would completely agree. I think it does have to be a combination of both. I think you also want to try to get engagement. When you're doing videos, you want to ask questions so that people leave comments, like it, share it, especially on controversial topics. You don't have to necessarily give an opinion on it, but you can ask the controversial question, which will, stir up a conversation in the comments, hopefully, which will then, drive organic growth on that post. But the other thing that we do is, and I used to frame it as giveaways, and I think that was really the wrong term, because we're not giving away things like gift cards or televisions, but we have an extensive merchandise site where we give away things like magnets, which are very cheap, or we have a shop with cups and sunglasses and T-shirts and all sorts of stuff, and we'll do giveaways with those because everybody likes getting free stuff. And so, magnets don't cost us a whole lot. We give those away. People put them on their fridge. And again, that's top of mind awareness. That's what we're going for. So if we can get somebody kind of into that funnel, get them to get our merchandise, put it on their fridge, that's a win for us. And hopefully if they ever find themselves in a car accident, a slip and fall case, or whatever it may be, they're going to reach out to us to call us.
Yeah. So I'm seeing this stuff. I've started doing a few of myself, just playing with it. But I see these things, Facebook stories, and then you got reels, I mean, can you explain to people what they are and what a difference and should use them or not use them or what?
Well, right now we're seeing a lot of engagement on YouTube Shorts, which is basically like the TikTok or Instagram Reels version of YouTube. We're getting a lot of good views on that. As TikTok does fairly well on certain topics for us, and then Instagram Reels does well on certain topics as well. So, I mean, I know there's differences of opinions on this. Right now, when we're cutting a video, we're cutting it for all sizes, for all platforms, and putting it on there. Certainly some do a lot better than others, but since we've already spent the time to produce the content, it doesn't take much extra time to cut it for all platforms. Now, there are certain things that are just, if you design it for that platform, are going to do a lot better, in my opinion. When you're doing ads and things like that, a Facebook ad and a TikTok ad are going to be two completely different things. And certainly LinkedIn's a completely different ball game as well. So you do want to be cognizant of the audience that you're putting it out to and the platform that you're on. But I think all platforms can work to some degree. Again, it depends on the content you're making, but I think it can work.
So, I get this question. I bet you get people ask you because you speak a lot. When do you find time to do this, and how do you do this? I mean, like me, Ken Hardison, I don't even know how to type, right? I do a lot of social media now. I mean,
You do.
and I mean, I know how I do it, but I'm just wondering, and then we can talk more about. I want to ask you because I got this train of thought that's getting buzzed around. I think it's just a lot better to do it yourself than to hire companies to go do it for you because they never do it right. They always never in your voice. I just don't think it's authentic. It's not. It's just. That's my opinion. I don't know.
I completely agree with you. I haven't seen anyone who does it well that you can outsource to. And I think you're right. I think it comes down to it can't be your voice. And going back to it was probably 5 years ago or so, there was a lot of companies out there that were kind of trying to do social media for lawyers. And I think actually at one of the summits, I put up the presentation. I had a bunch of different slides of different lawyer ads, and they all looked identical. It was the same clip art with different names. And
Right.
so, they're trying to do that. Those companies are trying to do it at scale. And when you're doing it at scale, you just lose the messaging, you lose the voice, you lose what's your USP, you lose what the messaging is essentially. So I think it's very difficult to do that. I think you're much better off spending the money to have somebody do it yourself, or have somebody in house who can do it for you because it can be time consuming. I don't do it myself anymore. I don't do all the posts and things like that. But if you have somebody in house who knows your message, knows your branding, you can still review
Yeah.
it before it goes
Yeah.
up, make sure it looks good and everything. But that way you're not having to physically spend the time to produce it.
And you could go. I mean, and I've seen some of our Pilma Mastermind members do this right when they're starting this. They'll go to a local college and hire somebody 10, 20 hours a week that's a marketing major or a film major and get them to come in and do the edits and set it up and push it out and all that stuff. I mean, you still got to do or actually film you with your own camera. I mean, or with their phone. I mean, the way the phones are now, you don't have to have a lot of fancy equipment. I think it's better if you don't, really.
I was going to say the same thing. I think sometimes when things are too shiny and too polished, especially on a platform like TikTok, people scroll over it because they think it's an ad. They think it's some sort of sponsored ad that's being pushed to them rather than organic content. So oftentimes, I think it's better if it does look a bit grainy, if it looks like it was produced on a phone, rather than having the full flashy production behind it.
So do you try to be on social media every day?
That's our goal. Our goal is once a day. We're trying to increase the goal to twice a day during the week right now, and then once on the weekends. So right now, what we're doing is typically on Tuesdays we do a batch shoot. Usually throughout the week, I'm looking for different news topics, We started doing more topical videos based on legal topics that are in the news. So we usually try to shoot those on Tuesdays, and then we're doing monthly meetings as well to kind of plan out the social media for the month. So we're looking at what giveaways we're doing that month, what events we're doing that month, anything else that we want to promote that month, what our kind of overall goal is. And then we're looking at what did well organically the prior month and pushing some of that stuff into ads for that month. So that's kind of our current strategy there. And we're going to testing to see how that goes this year.
So, I mean, I know you got people in house, but like Pilma, I mean, I've got a guy from Pakistan that does all my video editing now, and I pay him less than $800 a month, and he does really good
Yeah.
work, I think.
No, he does. There's a lot of good people you can get out there for not that much.
Yeah. So people say I can't afford to do this. That's not true.
No, it is a time commitment, though. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. It's the effort and the time that you have to put in it, and sometimes it can be uncomfortable if you're kind of in a bad mood. Sometimes you don't want to have to do it. That's why, in my opinion, you just have to block your calendar. Once a week, 2 hours on the calendar, block it out, and really try to dedicate to shoot something. Even if it's not as much
Yeah.
as you'd like, you shoot something, send it off to your editor, or if you edit yourself, or if you have somebody in house, and then push it that way. And as you do it, just like anything else, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The
Yeah.
more content you can produce, the faster you can do it, and then you can just kind of become a content machine and start pushing stuff out.
Yeah. And what I've started doing, and I've actually learned it from the masterminds, believe it or not. You guys teach me stuff all the time. Is that I got this studio in town. I go there. I pay about $125, and I spend about an hour and a half there, and I just shoot. What I do is in between, I do it once a month. I've got a book, a little Pilma notebook, 5x7, and sitting on my desk. And every time I think of something or I see something, I say, I need to talk about this. I need to talk about this, or this would be interesting, or something on the news.
Yeah.
Some people call it newsjacking, but if you can get what's wise mentor told me one time, if you can enter the conversation that's on the people's mind, they're going to grab hold of this stuff a lot quicker because they're curious and they're going to be searching for that stuff. I mean, I saw something on AI about the guy Schmidt, the former CEO of whatever of Google. He's talking about AI, and that it needs to be some kind of what they've got now is not going to work as far as governing it and keeping control of it. And he thinks the government ought to fund it with some kind of taxes from this AI stuff when you put it out there, and then get private companies, because government's always too much red tape and too long. It'll actually look at this stuff and make sure that their stuff's right and that they're not using it for bad purposes, and and that their stuff's not that they're not taking celebrities, which you can do now, right?
Yeah.
You can take celebrities' images and voices and type in something, and they'll do an ad for you, even though they didn't agree to.
And you can't tell the difference, or it's very difficult to tell the difference, I should say. But I
Yeah.
mean, but you brought up a couple other good points there, and I do the same thing. I keep just on my phone. I keep a list of topics for the week that I'm going to try to do. But also, you mentioned studios, and we have studios here in town for the same thing. Couple $100. They're a lot cheaper than you think they would be. That you can go rent and do a bunch of production there fairly easily. In one of our offices, we painted one of the walls with green screen paint. And so we can just use that as the green screen. We have the lights set up all the time. Just walk there, turn the camera on, and you can shoot. I mean, that is the other thing the other tip I would give people is have a place that's already set up. You can just walk into and turn the camera on, because if you have to add the process of setting up the equipment and breaking down the equipment every time, that's just another hurdle, another barrier to actually shooting it. So if you can kind of have at least one place where you can shoot it, whether it's a green screen or a set of some kind, it'll make it easier to start shooting some content.
Has AI made this easier for you?
It's good to bounce ideas off of sometimes. I wouldn't say it's overly helpful, but we do use it to, let's say we're doing like Q&A videos. We'll use AI to say, what are some questions that somebody who was in a motorcycle accident would be facing immediately after the accident, something along those lines. So it's good to bounce ideas off of. I don't think you can fully rely on it. It's still going to give you some nonsense, questions and things like that. You have to filter through it, and you certainly don't want to rely on its answers. you want to give the proper legal answer. But it is helpful to use. I think it can be a helpful tool, but it's certainly not a replacement for your independent legal knowledge.
Well, I know that you've been very successful in the Orlando area. So you got a lot of like a catchphrase. You mind telling the audience what your catchphrase is? I love it.
Absolutely. Injured on the go, just call Moe. Just call Moe.com.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, so you guys want to go watch his videos and get an idea what I'm talking about, because he does some real funny ones and he does some that, very informative. And you got a big following. I mean, you were at the last mastermind, you're telling that you did these magnet giveaways and you gave them away like hotcakes. I mean, they just went all over it.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually doing one today, a Valentine's Day magnet that just got released that is probably going to be sold out by the end of the day. So, it's not the largest following by any means, but certainly kind of a niche, loyal following, I would say. And it's worked for us. So, we're happy with that.
Yeah, because I remember when you first joined PILMA, you were doing mostly domestic law, right?
I mean, I don't like to admit that, but yeah, I started doing kind of general civil litigation, a lot of domestic law. And when I first joined the mastermind, our goal was to sign up one PI case a week. And, now we're well beyond that. But a lot of it was, due to kind of building this brand on social media and kind of pushing out our message that way. Because like you said, Orlando is just a extraordinarily competitive market.
Yeah, now you sign up 1 to 2 a day, right?
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Big change.
Yeah. So that just proves that you don't have to be on TV and radio to make this work. You can do the grassroots, you can do the social media.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of lawyers see other lawyers on TV or billboards or buses around town and think, oh, I have to do that. That's the only way to succeed. And I think really you have to kind of, before you ever jump into something like that, you have to analyze, what's my goal here? What's my marketing funnel look like? Because, okay, let's say you put your face on the side of a bus. Well, how do you get that person from going to see the bus, to remembering you, to contacting you when they're in an accident? Again, they're not going to see that bus once or twice and think, oh, I'm going to call that guy. It's got to be something more compelling than that. And, social media is a free platform. Yeah, of course you can pay for ads, but you can also put stuff out there for free and you can get thousands of views. And if you're really good, hundreds of thousands of views at no cost to you. So it does take time, it does take energy, but if you can create a conversation on there, you can definitely gain some followers and gain some reach.
Good deal. So people want to follow you because that's going to help you, I know. So what's your handle? What page did it go to?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram, I think it's just call Moe. On TikTok, I think it's Moe DeWitt. But if you type in just call Moe on basically any of the platforms, it should come up. And then we are here in Orlando, so we do get a lot of tourist cases. So if anybody out there has somebody who is visiting from Orlando, we co-counsel with people all over the country on those kinds of cases, and of course pay referral fees on them as well. So
you do sue Mickey, huh?
We've sued him number of times.
A good deal. Well, listen, I appreciate you, and I look forward to you being on the panel, and then you can get a little deeper in this stuff and talk about the type of things and kind of show people what you've done that really works, and show some of your best posts that you ever did. I like to see those. They're always neat.
Yeah, the Super Summit's always a great time. I mean, I don't think I've missed one since the first one I went to, which is probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. And there's just so much information. When I try to explain it to people, it's just really so much education. It's informational based. It's not a sales conference, which is why I keep coming, because no matter how many times I come, there's something new that I learn. And you always go home feeling like you have a million things to do to get all this stuff implemented. But it's a great event. So I'm happy to be there. Thank you for putting me on a panel to speak a little bit. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good deal, man. Well, I will see you next month. You going in Key West at the next mastermind meeting.
I'll be there.
And bring your videos, because I always like to see the new stuff you're doing. Okay.
Will do.
All right, man. Take care. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.